Okay, welcome everyone, and good evening. My name is Will Moss. I am the CEO of HBCUconnect.com. This evening, I am going to introduce everyone to NEXTera Energy. NEXTera has been a partner with HBCU Connect for quite some time. So we are very excited and very happy to not only introduce the company, but also introduce some of their team members so that you can learn a little bit more about some of the team members at NEXTera, a little bit more about the company culture, and also, most importantly, learn about opportunities with NEXTera. So welcome. Thank you for taking out the time to join us. So with that, we will go ahead and get started. So the first thing I want to do is I want to show you guys what we're going to be talking about this evening and share the agenda with you. So what we're going to do first, I'm going to give you guys a quick welcome. I'm also going to introduce Shirley Bryant, who is our partner at NEXTera Energy, and we'll kind of welcome everyone to the event, and then we'll go into keynote speakers with Andrea Pelt-Thornton and Michelle Landry, where they'll give some information about NEXTera as a company, as well as NEXTera from a cultural perspective and a diversity perspective. Then I'll introduce the team of leaders from NEXTera that have joined us and taken their time to share a little bit more about their areas of responsibility, types of people that they hire. So I'll introduce the team so you guys have an idea who's on the call, what they do, what types of roles and responsibilities they have available. And then we'll do a quick panel discussion where I will actually ask some questions specifically for the team that's assembled here so that you guys can learn a little bit more about the company culture, learn a little bit more about some of the issues and challenges and reasons why you might want to work for NEXTera. So that'll be the panel discussion. And then after the panel discussion, typically we do these events in person in different locations all over the country. But because of the current health crisis with the COVID-19, we decided to start doing virtual events. And so this is our first virtual event with NEXTera. And so instead of having like a networking format like we have in our physical events, we're going to have a Q&A, which will allow you the chance as candidates and professionals to ask questions about whatever you want to know from the NEXTera team that's here today. So you'll have that chance to ask questions in the chat after the panel discussion. And then we'll talk a little bit about the process for how to apply for opportunities and how if you register through us, some of you will make contact with NEXTera recruiters and potentially land interviews. Okay. So all right, with that, we'll go ahead and get started. So as I said before, my name is Will Moss. I'm the CEO of HBCU Connect. Very happy and excited to be here because what we like to do at HBCU Connect is present opportunities from companies that are hiring and have a specific desire or emphasis or need for diversity. And so NEXTera is one of those companies. We partnered with NEXTera, I want to say, for almost 10 years now. We met with the team members, Shirley Bryant and Ron Navarro, who came to Columbus, Ohio, where we're based. We met in person, we forged a relationship, and we've been working together ever since to present NEXTera's opportunities to the HBCU and African American audience that we represent. So I want to say kudos to NEXTera Energy for taking the time out to invest in getting to know you guys better. And also, I want you guys to really take advantage of this opportunity to interface with a company that's really trying to bring in more diverse candidates into their company. So you're going to learn a little bit more about their company. And like I said, you'll be able to ask questions. But with that, I'd like to also pass, the microphone virtually to Shirley Bryant, who's a recruiting and manager of recruitment and acquisition at NEXTera.
Hi there. As I said, as Will said, thank you, Will, for that introduction. My name is Shirley Bryant, and I'm going to keep my intro very short because we have a packed agenda tonight. I am just super excited to know that you all have taken some time out of your schedules tonight to join us for this call because you have an interest in our company. We're especially excited about the ongoing partnership that we have with Will and his company with HBCU Connect. They do amazing work, and we've been connected with them for a little over 10 years. It is our hope and our desire that you'll learn a lot about our company tonight, also about our company culture, and that you get inspired and energized to want to come work for us and speak to our recruiters about starting or building a career with us. Our NEXTera team will be available over the next few weeks to answer any questions that you guys might have. So sit back and relax and enjoy the presentation. I'll send it back to you, Will.
Excellent. Thanks, Shirley. With that, we would like to go ahead and start with our first keynote speaker, who is Andrea Pelt-Thornton. So Andrea, if you're ready to present, I'll hand the microphone over to you virtually.
Will, thank you so much, and good evening, everyone. Yes, my name is Andrea Pelt-Thornton, and I am delighted. I'm super excited to be here tonight because it really gives us this great chance to share with you some insights to our company and hopefully some opportunities for us to learn more about those of you who would be interested in working with NEXTera. I'll start by simply sharing an overview of our company, and I must say that the key to NEXTera Energy is that it is probably one of the biggest energy companies that you've never heard of. NEXTera Energy is actually a Fortune 200 company, and it's ranked #1 in the electric, gas, and utilities industries in terms of Fortune's list of the most admired companies. We've been ranked as one of the most admired companies for the 13th time in over 14 years. And why is that? Well, that's because, again, we are a leading clean energy company. Our company has approximately 13,900 employees, and we operate in 37 states and Canada. Some of you may know us as Florida Power and Light, as you can see, which is one of our major subsidiaries. We also have a key subsidiary in Gulf Power, as well as NEXTera Energy Resources. And then we have some additional subsidiaries like FPL Energy Services. And so we provide a number of avenues in which we provide services to our constituents, to our customers, and then we also provide a tremendous opportunity to grow in terms of professional careers. As I said, NEXTera Energy, our principal business is located in, we're principally located in Florida, and we're headquartered in Juno Beach. Key to our subsidiaries is the fact that NEXTera Energy Resources is the world's largest generator of renewable energy from wind and sun, and a world leader in battery storage. So if you're interested in looking and working with and evolving in the renewable energy space, NEXTera is the place to be. In addition to that, again, one of our other major subsidiaries is Florida Power and Light Company. And FPL, as we like to say, is the largest energy company in the state of Florida. We have over 5 million customer accounts. And as you can see now, we cover territory and provide electric service to nearly half of the state of Florida. That's over 10 million people in the state of Florida, covering 35 counties, 1.3 million poles and structures. And again, we provide energy to nearly half of the state of Florida. So I share that to say this, that NEXTera Energy is a diverse energy company where we not only provide electric service and your traditional electricity, we also provide renewable energy around the world. So those are some of the key attributes of NEXTera. And next, I'd like to introduce my colleague, Michelle Landry, Senior Director of Diversity and Inclusion and Engagement, because Michelle will tell you more about our corporate culture. Michelle?
Thank you so much, Andrea. Hello, everyone. Good evening to those of you on the East Coast and all across the United States. I'd like to talk to you a little bit about diversity and inclusion at NEXTera Energy. I'm sure you're not surprised to know that we are committed to diversity and inclusion. Why? Well, of course, it's the right thing to do. But our focus and commitment are very much about growing the business and meeting the needs of our customers, including needs that they don't even know that they have yet. A diverse workforce and an inclusive culture enable innovation, creativity, and teamwork, which drive value and business results. And our diversity and inclusion vision is to continue to build a diverse and inclusive team, drive a culture that values respect, inclusion, and engagement, and fosters our vision to be the best energy company today and for the future. And so as you can see here, our D&I strategy has 4 pillars: to attract, hire, develop, and retain top talent. So attract is all about building the future pipeline of employees for our company and for the energy industry. And we do this by helping to attract middle and high school students to STEM education. And STEM is science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. We also partner with technical colleges across America to develop energy curriculum to ensure that there are graduates out there with the skills needed to have exciting careers at NEXTera Energy. For the hire pillar, we work to ensure that our workforce is diverse in every way, from generation and gender to ethnicity, veteran status, people with disabilities, and so much more. For develop, once we hire the best employees, we have to ensure that they have the knowledge and tools that they need to be productive and grow in their careers, including training on diversity and inclusion. Additionally, my team collaborates with our Corporate Diversity Council and Corporate Engagement team to host an engagement, diversity, and inclusion workshop each summer and a diversity summit each fall. For retain, we expect every employee to demonstrate our culture of inclusion. From feeling empowered to bring their unique background and experience to work each day, to respecting the colleagues with which they work. And we focus on creating a workplace where employees are engaged and motivated to do meaningful work. And one of the ways that we do that is through employee resource groups. Our 12 employee resource groups, or ERGs, are key to developing and retaining talent. Our ERGs help us to engage employees with diversity and inclusion at a grassroots level and help make NEXTera Energy an even better place to work. And so we encourage our employees to join one or more ERGs to demonstrate their advocacy, develop themselves, network, and help grow the business. And we're being recognized for our commitment to diversity and inclusion in the external market. We've been presented with Employer of Choice Awards for Best Large Employer, Best Employer for Diversity, Most Ethical Company, as well as for our practices around hiring and retaining veterans. So engagement, diversity, and inclusion are so important to NEXTera Energy that it's embedded in each of our 3 values. We are committed to excellence, and that includes delivering the best for our shareholders, customers, employees, and stakeholders. We do the right thing. We do that by creating an environment of openness and trust. And we treat people with respect. We lead respectfully, and we build diverse and inclusive teams to strengthen and engage our greatest asset, our people. So NEXTera Energy is looking for some energy visionaries ready to help us define the next era. I'm proud and happy that I chose to do so over 2 years ago, and I hope you'll consider joining us. Thank you so much, Will. I'll turn it back over to you.
Thank you, Andrea, Michelle, and Shirley. So with that, now you guys know a little bit more about NEXTera as a company and sort of some of the company culture and their philosophies around diversity. What I want to do, and this is kind of a fun part of the evening for me, and that is I want to allow our candidates to get to know each one of you guys better and sort of your path to NEXTera, what you currently do at NEXTera, and that kind of thing. So I'm going to start with Shirley, followed by Andrea, followed by Michelle, followed by Jennifer, followed by Annie, and then followed by Luis. Okay, so starting with you, Shirley, if you could kind of give us some background information on what you do at NEXTera, how, you know, what was your path to NEXTera, and we'll kind of take it from there. I want people to just get to know you a little bit better.
All right. You probably don't have all night for you to get to know me, but I'll give you it in a nutshell. Let's see. I started with the company a little bit over 34 years ago. I am a Floridian, one that has never really seen snow. How about that? So born and raised here in Florida, I've always had the desire to work for FPL. It took me about 10 years, you know, through the process of just working in the community to get on board with FPL. Currently, I am a recruiting manager, which I support a couple business units. In addition to that, I also support our college program along with military and diversity, and just ensuring that we are doing the right thing as it relates to increasing our diverse efforts across our company. So as a recruiting manager, I support, when I go out, I'm looking for the company. I'm not necessarily looking for the jobs that I might oversee with my recruiters. But throughout this call, I know I have some of my teammates that are on the call tonight. We are all in this together. This is one team. This is all about making a difference for the organization. So wherever I go, I'm always looking for talent. It doesn't necessarily mean it has to be for one of the areas, as I said, that I'm supporting, but I am sure that this is a good fit for our organization. So be it a college student or a person who is early in their career, or a person that has been in the profession for a while and might want to change their career. We're all about looking for talent for our organization.
So how did you end up working at NEXTera? Were you a college recruit or?
No. So as I said, born and raised right here in West Palm Beach, I actually went to a junior college. And I have a real story, but like I said, you don't have enough time for me. But I had my daughter at a younger age. So I came to work for FPL and went back to school to get my bachelor's and also my master's. So I didn't come through your traditional route of coming in straight out of college, but that shows you there's opportunities for all of us through the company. And when I came in back in the day, I was a bill deliverer. I used to hang bills on customers' doors. So I think that's an important thing to know about our company. Opportunities are endless. And what I mean by that, to come in a door and have multiple jobs across a business and never leave is a wonderful thing. To me, it's awesome to know that there's opportunities across this great company.
And there's nothing wrong with being in sunny Florida.
You're right.
I appreciate that insight. I'm sure people will probably have some questions for you around the recruitment process and that kind of thing, but it's always good for people to kind of get to know you better. So thank you for that, Shirley. Okay, next up we have Andrea. So Andrea, if you can kind of give us your background on what you do specifically for NEXTera and kind of how you ended up working there at NEXTera.
Absolutely, I'm happy to share. So my role at NEXTera is I am an information technology agile delivery manager. And by that, my job is to deliver technology solutions to the corporation and for the corporation. I have specialized in implementing computer applications and systems to support our customer billing and customer service business units, delivering applications for all things customer service, including customer care, including our online services, as well as I said, our automated billing solutions. Also, have had the opportunity to work in the data analytics space. And so most recently, I've been able to deliver new analytic solutions and platforms that allow my colleagues to analyze big data, to solve problems using artificial intelligence and augmented reality, because those are all of the technologies that we employ. So as an Agile delivery manager, I've had the ability to build solutions in a number of diverse areas. Most recently and most excitedly, we're now deploying new tools for productivity, including the new Microsoft Office 365 suite of products, like Microsoft Teams, which you may have seen being deployed or being advertised here recently as a part of the corona virus solution activity. So I said all of that to say this: the solutions never stop. It never ends, because we are a very innovative company. We actually rely on data and are passionate about using data and analytics to fuel our decision making. And I'm really proud to have been a part of that throughout my career.
So how did you end up working at NEXTera? I always am curious about the path.
You know, my path is interesting in the sense that I didn't start immediately out of college. I've been with NEXTera for 36 years now. And when I'm from Miami, Florida. And so,
knew it.
although
I knew it. You sound just like my family from down there.
Well, there you go. There you go. I'm one of the few Florida natives born and raised in South Florida, like Shirley. But I'm from Miami, and I had done a little bit of recruiting, or done a little bit of interviewing with the career fair at University of Florida, where I received my bachelor's degree. But at the end of the day, I ended up just coming home and beating the pavement to find opportunities. And so I looked at two things. One, I was looking for an industry that had some sense of longevity. And so I thought immediately about energy, and also about telephones, or at that time, Bell South or Ma Bell, which was local to Miami as well. They had big offices. So that's what drove me to NEXTera and Florida Power and Light to apply. But I also looked at institutions that would enable me to go back to school, because I always wanted to continue my education. And so I started to work with University of Miami initially. Why? Because they were the first ones to offer a job. And so I took that job, but I also was continuing and hoping to hear back from some of these other companies. Not only did I hear back from NEXTera, but they lured me away after just 3 months, because they offered tuition assistance, where I knew I could get my master's degree and assistance with doing that, as well as specialized programs for new individuals who were new in the information technology space like myself. So immediately, NEXTera started investing in me, and I found it to be the best place to be ever since.
So I know, with you being in the IT space within the company, I know there's a lot of people on this call or on this webinar that are very interested in IT careers and data science careers, data analytics. Can you talk a little bit about what type of hiring or needs that you see within the company within the IT space?
Absolutely. We are always looking for data scientists, especially as folks are now trained in data analytic techniques. As I shared, one key aspect about our business and across our company is that we speak with facts. We speak with data. We speak data. And so having that natural skill set, those individuals who have the skill set and know how to analyze data, know how to look at problems in different ways to uncover, in many cases, the unexpected right answers, that is a very critical skill for us. But not only are we looking at those who know data science or those who have data science skills, we're looking for individuals who can collaborate. In IT, we're very collaborative in nature. We form teams and work across departmental boundaries as a rule almost. And so we're always looking for individuals who are collaborative and those who can help solve problems. We're looking for Scrum Masters. We're looking for business analysts, because oftentimes it's not just knowing how to code or knowing how to assemble programs. We have to think through what the requirements are. So we look for folks with those aspects as well.
So one last question for you, and that is, what is a typical day in the life for you at working there at NEXTera?
Oh, wow. Day in the life. You know, it is always challenging. In fact, most of my day, especially since we are now deploying the Microsoft 365 suite, a lot of my day is working with our internal clients. Earlier today, I've worked with my internal customers from the power delivery business unit because they're going to use the Microsoft products as they are helping to restore power and restore service. So we had to talk about some of those mobile features that they could apply in their day-to-day business. And then the other half of my day was spent working with my internal customers in customer service because they too are working to use, planning to use these new products. And they have agents, for instance, in the customer care center. And we know when you're talking to a customer on the phone, our care center agents can't lose a second of time in terms of navigating from one screen to the next as they're trying to facilitate that external customer's problems. So we were talking about, well, how can we optimize that process and take out steps so that our call center agents can get to the information that they need more quickly. So it's all about, again, communicating, solving problems, and then figuring out how to make the most of the technology that we have at hand.
So one last question, and then we'll hand it over to Michelle. But my last question, just to give candidates an idea of the scale, about how big would you say, or how many people would you say work within IT at NEXTera or FPL?
Our IT department has roughly about 2,000 employees, 1,500 to 2,000 employees, and the disciplines are vast. We have an extensive cybersecurity team, for instance, because guess what? Energy and the energy infrastructure is one of the hottest targets, right? So we have extensive cybersecurity. We have, as I mentioned, data analysts. We have teams like mine who are agile teams that just build solutions that are used internally. And then we also have our infrastructure teams who work on ensuring that we have laptops and desktops that are configured to drive and power the technology that we use. So we have a broad base.
Excellent. Okay, thank you, Andrea. Now, Michelle, if you kind of could give us a background of what your responsibilities are at NEXTera, and then how you ended up working for the company.
So I'll start in reverse order because my journey is a little bit different than Shirley and Andrea.
Sure.
So I, as you heard me say, have been with the company for only a little more than 2 years, which I will tell you is very unusual, not only on this call, but in the office. I work with a lot of people who are very tenured. I had been working for about 15 years, doing organizational change management and leading diversity and inclusion initiatives for management consulting and at a very large, very recognizable brand in Atlanta. And I was looking for my next opportunity. And I loved the idea of getting engaged in renewable energy. My husband and I had been very interested in moving to sunny Florida, being able to just ride our bikes to the beach. And so I joined in the spring of 2018, leading employee engagement, diversity, and inclusion, having an opportunity to work directly for our EVP of Human Resources, really set strategy, work closely with business leaders. And I've just been really impressed with the true focus and commitment of leaders at all levels and how engaged all of our employees are and what they do every single day. I do think the fact that we get to work for a company that's known for changing the world, to get to work for a company that is a leading developer of renewable energy, it really helps to attract all sorts of people. Every single day of mine is different. I can be working on strategy, for business leaders, figuring out ways to help engage them with Shirley and team to increase the diversity of their teams. I've been spending a lot of time lately rolling out our employee engagement survey results, because even in the midst of the pandemic, our CEO, Jim Robo, made it clear we still very much cared about what our employees told us right before the pandemic began. And we're really taking those results all the way down to every single team so that we can make actions to make NEXTera Energy an even better place to work. So, and my team, every day is different, which I love. It's part of what makes my work so exciting. But getting to work with leaders who truly are committed and want to take engagement and diversity and inclusion to the next level has been really awesome.
Excellent. So one question I think I have for you that's a little bit different, and considering that we have about 152 candidates that are from diverse backgrounds and diverse individuals interested in working for NEXTera, what would be your sales pitch for these diverse candidates to work for NEXTera?
I think it's fantastic, right? So that is the question. Why come here? I don't know where you guys are located. Like I said, my husband and I moved from Atlanta, Georgia, a city that's very diverse. Being in the West Palm Beach area, there's a different kind of diversity. So one thing I will say, and maybe this is less salesy, but it's not Houston, right? It's not Atlanta. It's not Washington, D.C. But we are so close to Miami, to Fort Lauderdale. There's lots of great things to do. And really why you come here is to build a career at a great company. That's what it's all about. And so for me, I'd say if that's what you're looking for, you're looking to be a part of something to change the world. You want to help even build the diversity of this company. You want to innovate. You want to solve problems. This is a fantastic place to consider. And what I will tell you is I have lots of friends who are considering, you know, lots of big cities, lots of big tech companies that we've all heard of. And what I will tell you is this is a fantastic place to live. This is a great place to work. And you've just got to find your peeps, as I call it. And so I've been here for a little more than 2 years. The community has been very welcoming to me. The company has really been interested in best practices and taking things to the next level. So I'd say if you want to be a part of what's next, that's why you come to NEXTera Energy. And I think South Florida, honestly, is way undersold. I think this is a great place to live. But I will tell you guys, I am from Nebraska. I haven't lived there in many years, but I am not a person who necessarily needs like New York City level of things to do. But the fact that we are within 70 miles of 3 international airports and you can hop on a plane and go wherever you want. Well, you used to be able to before our current lives, where now sitting here is the most exciting thing we do. But I just honestly, to change the future, why wouldn't you come here, guys?
So one last question for you, just so people can kind of just get a scope. So your title is Senior Director, Engagement, Diversity, and Inclusion at NEXTera Energy. What is a typical day in the life like for you?
What I will say is that all of the days are different. I get the chance of working with our employee resource group leaders. So for example, Andrea Pelt-Thornton, you just heard her day in the life, but what she didn't mention is that some of those days she's working with me and the rest of her APEG ERG leadership team on rolling out great programming to engage employees in collaboration with other employee resource groups. I have the opportunity of also working with our Corporate Diversity Council. They really take our D&I strategy and they bring that to life within their business units. The corporate engagement team is responsible for really being sure that we've got action plans in place that make a difference and make every single team better and more engaged and able to drive higher performance and just be a more fun and exciting workplace. And I get to talk to people all the time about NEXTera Energy, about careers, and about what we can do to take our company to the next level. So I tell people all the time, I get tired of hearing myself talk. I feel like that's what I spend a lot of time doing, but learning, growing, learning more about the business, and also really sharing the analysis around our diversity and inclusion metrics and coming up with initiatives for how we can make our company more diverse and inclusive. I have to be honest, there is no regular day, and even during, quarantine, it's lots of phone calls, it's lots of conversations, making a difference one employee and one team at a time.
Excellent. So thank you, Michelle. Appreciate you taking the time out to break that down. But we'll go ahead with our next panelist in an introduction. And that would be Jennifer McDougall, Manager of Corporate Accounting. So I know we have lots of folks that have an accounting and finance background. So Jennifer, if you are ready, I'll hand the microphone over to you virtually.
Yes, good evening, everyone. Thank you again so much for being here and allowing myself and my colleagues to be part of this discussion. As Will mentioned, my name is Jennifer McDougall. I've been with the company a total of 6 years, but my story, I'm sure, is completely different from everyone else's. I started with the company back in 2012. I wasn't recruited right out of college or anything like that. I was working with a recruiting firm to get placed at FPL. So Shirley gave us her story about it taking her 10 years to eventually get on with the company. I think it took me less than a week, which is almost unheard of.
Wow.
But I'm a strong believer that everything happens for a reason, and I'm so blessed to be a part of this company. In 2017, I made the decision to leave the company for a small IT startup company in South Florida in Broward County, which almost never happens here. And it was the opportunity to be a part of something big. I didn't leave because I was uninterested, because I wasn't happy, but I decided to return about a year ago just because I know in my heart NEXTera Energy is the place to be. And the reason I tell that as part of my story is twofold. If you are a dedicated, talented person and you decide to leave and come back, NEXTera will be here for you. NEXTera values their employees. And so even if you take a small pause and come back, because your value is there, they will welcome you with open arms. And that's how I felt when I returned about a year ago. As far as a day in the life, I do work in accounting. So our days are very cyclical in nature, or our months, that is. So our month end close, we close pretty fast. We have roughly 3 full days of closing the books. And that's for all of our subsidiaries through our parent company, NEXTera Energy. And we definitely work together to make sure that we can provide the most accurate results to the street on a quarterly and annual basis. What we decided to do almost 2 years ago was form a financial center of excellence. Prior to that time, the FPL, or Florida Power and Light Company, would close their sets of books. Our NEXTera Energy Resources team would close their books. And then we decided to take a look at that and see if we can draw on any synergies between the best practices for both companies. And so for the past 2 years, we've been working as one central organization, closing the books and records for the company, and it has been amazing. In the accounting organization, you hardly ever hear of innovation and process improvements, but that couldn't be further from the truth here at NEXTera. We are very motivated in driving out waste. We are all about process improvements. In fact, it's required for everyone in the accounting organization to go through a 6 Sigma process to learn about how to drive out waste. We are very passionate about robotics and RPAs, how we can automate some of the monotonous processes that we have so that we can spend more time on analytics. And so I know you don't normally hear of those things in the accounting organization, but that's just one way that we are changing the future for the next era. Sorry for sounding corny at that last part.
So what is a typical day in the life like for you? Because like I said, we have a lot of folks that have accounting backgrounds and finance backgrounds. Typical day in the life for you, and then what you see within the company, like as far as needs for that type of talent.
Sure, I'll answer the second question first. You have to be able to be a self-starter. In the accounting organization, you have to be able to work on your own, but also be a team player. Currently on my team, I have a team of 7, ranging from principal accountants, which is basically being a manager without direct reports, all the way down to business analysts. And those are the folks who process some of our miscellaneous accounts receivable items, do some of the research. And then I have senior accountants who are responsible for producing our management level reporting for senior leadership to review and ensure that our books and records are recorded correctly so that we can release our 10K and 10Qs. So a normal day in the life may be a little bit easier for me to do a normal week, because in my mind, that's how I kind of structure the month. So right now we are preparing for month-end close, and what my time really consists of is reviewing journal entries, making sure our account reconciliations are good to go, reaching out to our business units to make sure that all of their accruals are recorded as accurate as possible. We're also very different in the fact that we have 2 sets of books. Everyone in accounting understands GAAP, or the generally accepted accounting principles, but because we are an energy company, we're also regulated by the FERC, or the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission. And so my team is responsible for our regulated financial reports, and it's important for us to understand the difference between those GAAP numbers and the FERC numbers, which I think is phenomenal. Before I moved to Florida, I worked in pharmaceuticals and banking and was never exposed to a different set of books before. And so you're always having to think, if I book this item for GAAP, how do I need to treat it for FERC? And so you're always thinking. Once we're done closing the books, then again, it's separate projects. How can we automate this? How can we drive out waste with that? How can I automate some of my journal entries? And then it's back to account reconciliations. As Andrea mentioned earlier, Gulf is one of our main subsidiaries, and we're working to enhance their accounting functionality as well. So that's one of the projects that I'm on. You'll always find different collaborations between the subsidiaries, like I mentioned earlier, to find out best practices so that we can make sure that we are, using the employees' time effectively, and that they are being analytical and less data entry.
And so from your perspective, what type of needs do you see within the company for accounting and finance talent?
Yeah, so definitely someone who's a self-starter, someone who's analytical, but also a team player, and someone who does not come with the status quo. If there is something that when you look at the process, you think it can be done better, quicker, different, bring up those ideas. We love people who are passionate about accounting. And if you can look at a process and come up with something better, that's awesome. We also enjoy when people are not afraid to share their ideas. If you have an idea, share it. I tell my team all the time, there are no stupid questions, only stupid answers. And so we want those fresh ideas so that we can make sure that we're being as effective as possible.
Excellent. So thank you, Jennifer, and really great insight into the accounting there at NEXTera and some of the finance roles. So next up, I'd like to introduce Annie Paskovich, who is a plant manager for Florida Power and Light within NEXTera. So Annie, if you're ready.
Yep. Hi, you can hear me?
I can hear you just fine. Thank you.
Okay. Hi, everybody. Thank you for having me on today. I'm really excited. This is the first time I've participated in a virtual career fair like this. So again, my name is Annie Paskovich. I'm a plant manager for Florida Power and Light. I am not originally from Florida. I am actually from Massachusetts. A little bit about my background and how I ended up here. So I actually went to college and studied engineering, marine engineering. And after that, I went and worked in a couple different power plants that were not owned by FPL or NEXTera. I was an operator. So I used to run the control room, all that exciting stuff, a couple different plants up north. I had never heard about NEXTera or Florida Power and Light. So that's one of those things where they say the biggest company you've never heard of. Well, I had never heard of it. I actually had a classmate that I had reached out to me that was a manager in one of our plants and was like, why are you not working down here? This company is huge. It has so many opportunities. And I was really looking to, advance my career and find more opportunities. But the plants that I worked at up north were so small.
What was your degree in
so
college?
Marine engineering was my bachelor's, and while I was working at my first plant, I got my master's in engineering as well.
Okay, there's a lot of engineers. The reason why I asked, there's a lot of
a lot of engineers, a lot of different types of engineering. A lot of them overlap with what we do in PGD. I had also spent some time in the Coast Guard Reserve, so I am a proud veteran, of course, as well. So I joined the company 8 years ago, and since then, my 8 years with the company, I've held 6 different roles. So when we talk about opportunities and growth, you know, if you're a self-starter and you have initiative and you're value and you really want to continue to learn and grow, the opportunities are there. I've already worked at 4 of our different power plants, which is really exciting. Currently, I'm actually on a new team that was formed a year ago. It's called Reimagine FPL for Central Operations. So we're actually reimagining how we operate and maintain our 11 fossil power plants in Florida, which is really cool. So starting from a team of like 2 or 3 of us, you know, now we're starting to build my team. I now have 5 or 6 teammates. But really what we're doing is we have 11 different power plants of all different sizes and different combustion technology, combustion turbine technology and steam turbines and control systems. We are building a central control room, which is the first of its kind in the world. So we talk a lot about innovation and technology. And we are going to operate all 11 of these plants from one location. So today, when you go to a plant, which Lewis, he's going to talk about, he's one of our plant managers at Port Everglades, so he's going to talk all about a day in life at a plant. Well, at a plant today, you have one control room operator that operates that plant. Well, in the future, we're going to be leveraging a lot of different technology and innovation. We're going to have one person operating 3 to 4 plants in one location. So it's really exciting. We kind of have to challenge the status quo, think outside the box, find better ways to do things, you know, find what kind of technology and getting rid of waste and how can we make the processes that we currently have easier and more efficient to make this possible. So there's really no average day, I guess, in the life of what we do. Every day we're trying to put ourselves in the future and think, what is this going to look like? How do we have to change our existing processes? What new processes do we need? We're going to need a new radio communication system so that we can talk all over the state and in the future possibly the country. So there's so many different teams that we have to collaborate with. And I know you've heard, you know, the different terms coming up, teamwork and collaboration, but really that is a core focal point of our company. And we have so many different teams that support so many different aspects of the business. And every day we're interacting with so many of them.
So one quick question for you, because like I said, there's a lot of folks that are interested in NextEra that have an engineering background, some of them electrical engineering, some of them even nuclear engineering or chemical engineering and process engineers. What can you speak to the needs that NextEra has for different types of engineers, or do, you know, those various disciplines, can they do different roles, you know, within within NextEra?
Yeah, absolutely. So in PGD alone, we have so many different types of engineers. We have civil, mechanical, electrical, chemical, nuclear, aerospace, like you name it, we have it. I went to school for marine engineering and you don't see me working on a boat. So you see that just having that background and that discipline and that ability to learn and apply the different skills that you've learned, you don't have to stay within that certain box of what you went to school for. You know, having been an electrical engineer, it doesn't mean you have to only work on the electrical fleet team. There's really, you know, as long as you add value and you have that initiative and you are a self-starter and you're driven, you can do anything. We have so many people that have moved around into so many roles and have been successful, you know, and it really doesn't even tie back to what they went to school for.
So I know we have Lewis who's going to speak next, and he's also a plant manager. But I have one more interesting question for you, and I'll save some of my other questions for him. But one of the questions I have is what areas of engineering do you see kind of growing there at NextEra? Like, where do you see there's like really a need for engineers in what area there at NextEra?
So I would say with, you know, back in the day when the plants were obviously, they had older technology there, we really wanted a lot more of the mechanical and the electrical. But now with the technology and the IT focus, you know, we're really looking at a lot of people that have background in like instrument and controls, computer science, computer engineering. That's been like a really hot topic lately. And that demand is growing, whereas our demand at the plants for, let's say, like that mechanical background is definitely, it's dwindling a little bit more than as the times are changing and the plants is changing. And also, you know, on the fleet teams in Juneau, and having that ability to troubleshoot and get into the control systems and really solve a lot of those issues. That's kind of how I see it leaning.
Excellent. So I appreciate you kind of taking the time to speak to your area there at NEXTera. And next up we have Luis from Hernandez, who's also a plant manager. So if you're ready, I'll pass the microphone to you virtually.
Sounds good. Good evening, Will. Good evening, everybody. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Great. Well, Annie covered everything, so I think we're good. But no. So like Will said, my name's Luis Hernandez. I'm a plant manager for Florida Power and Light here in Fort Lauderdale. The plant's called Port Everglades. I started with the company about 12 years ago. I'm originally from Boulder, Colorado, but I was raised in Miami, and went to school at University of Florida, where I graduated with a chemical engineering degree, which was kind of one of the engineers we were talking about. And I had more of a traditional kind of journey from there. Went to career fair, was able to get an interview with FP&L. I wanted to come back home in Miami, and as looking at industry leaders in Miami, there weren't many, but FPL was always one that I grew up with. It was a brand that was always at home with me as I grew up in South Florida. So when I got the opportunity to interview, I was very excited. And ever since I've joined the company, it's been nothing but positive and just an amazing journey since. Very much like Annie, in the 12 years that I've been with the company, I've switched roles about 4 or 5 times now. I've worked at 2 different facilities. And more than that is the opportunity to really work with the different departments and the different efforts throughout the entire state and sometimes even the country. What I hear my peers talk about is it's amazing how throughout all of our departments, it resonates how as long as you've got a bit of bias for action and a drive to really improve every bit of your process, the sky's the limit. And so that's kind of how my career's been. You know, I started as the role was a production assurance role. It was an entry-level engineering role to try to understand how the plant operates and make some changes to make sure it was operating efficiently, both operations and maintenance. And little by little learned how the site worked, learned how the business worked, and now try to work with Annie to make sure that not just my plant, but all of our plants are running as efficient and optimized as much as possible. So it's fantastic. It's been a great journey so far.
So yourself and Annie have roles as plant managers. Are your roles the same, just at different locations, or does that location dictate that you have to do something different from a day in the life perspective, or the types of engineers that are needed at your plant as opposed to Annie's plant?
So what Annie explained, she's working on this new effort, which is the whole Reimagine FPL.
Okay.
I would say, it's a little bit of the same talents, just focused more on leveraging technology and, the whole computer science and instrumentation and controls behind what really runs power plants, right? So even though we are at different locations, she's basically trying to grab the lessons learned from all of the 11 plant managers and their teams to make sure that we collectively build this program in a way that's, will last forever, right? I mean, it's a first time in ever created. So it's one of these things that we're trying to be as innovative as possible, trying to be as efficient as possible to make it happen. So basically, she's leveraging not only myself, but the rest of my peers and our teams to make sure we get the best practices from each one of our sites to implement into this system so that it's successful.
What does a team structure look like under a plant manager? Like what types of talent and teams do you have to have and manage?
Yeah, so that's actually a great question. The overall, the structure, the organizational structure at a plant is broken down from an operations and maintenance side of the house, where basically we have an operations team that actually operates the site, and then another set of folks that maintain. For each one of those, from an engineering perspective, we have supervisors that basically manage those groups. And that's where the different types of engineerings come in. You know, as a chemical engineer, I was an operations supervisor at one point, which made that more of an easy thing from a process standpoint. On the maintenance side, we usually split that up into the 3 different crafts, the way we split it up here, which is, you know, mechanical, electrical, and instrumentation and controls, which allows for different engineering roles in that arena as well. So you can have the mechanical engineers, you can have electrical engineers, computer science engineers that can then work in those areas. At the same time, it's still a business, right? So a lot of the things that some of my other peers were talking about, we have here on site. So we have to have an environmental specialists, which usually are environmental engineers, to help us maintain our compliance aspect of the business. We need business analysts that will work with the FCOE that was brought up a little bit earlier, to make sure that from the business side, we have you know, business analysts and leaders here maintaining that side of the house. And then we have the actual craft, which is more of a hands-on approach for, you know, actual mechanics, electricians, and those are the people who actually maintain and operate the site. So, you know, it's a pretty comprehensive organization that works either under the plant manager or with the plant manager to make sure we run efficiently every day.
Excellent. So kudos to the NEXTera team, and kudos to Shirley for putting this team together, because you guys have shared some excellent information. And I wanted to make sure that all of the candidates on the call today got a chance to hear from each of you, so that they would know what roles and responsibilities you guys had, so they can ask questions in the Q&A section. So with that, we're going to move right along to the next segment of our evening. And it's going to be a quick panel discussion, because I want to make sure that we leave some time for any questions from our candidates. So for everybody that's you know, watching the video stream, participating in our event this evening, if you have questions, we will have a Q&A portion of the evening, and you can drop your questions now or later in the chat, and then I'll read those questions to the team to answer. So if you have questions, feel free to drop them in the chat now or later. But with that, I want to ask the team some questions. Some of these questions might be more related to, you know, specific team members, but others can be open to those of you that feel comfortable answering. And I'm trying to be sort of an advocate for our candidates and ask some of the questions that might be useful for them. So a lot of people that, you know, attend this webinar are going to be very interested in interviewing. So from your experience, I think I would like to have 2 perspectives to this question. I like to have sort of an HR or hiring perspective, and then I would like to have maybe the candidate perspective from when maybe one of you guys interviewed, like maybe Jennifer, for example, when you interviewed. So the question is, what advice can you offer candidates that interview with NEXTera in order to maximize their chance to land a job, other than, you know, them having the right skills? So Jennifer, if you wouldn't mind answering that from a candidate perspective, and then maybe Michelle or Shirley or one of the managers on the call can answer from a you know, management perspective.
Sure. So my first thought when you started to ask that question was, be yourself, be your authentic self. Of course, do your research for whatever position you are applying for, but be yourself and let yourself shine through. One thing that I've noticed as a candidate myself is that we all know interviews are like 30 minutes and they're trying to get to know the most about you, but take that time to really answer their questions specifically. If they ask for an example of problem solving or how you improved a process, be detailed enough to where they can understand your thought process, but you don't have to tell them the whole story. In my latest interview, coming back to the company, I felt like the questions were rapid fire and I had to keep up with them enough but also let each one of the interviewers know that I was listening to them, that I was paying attention, and I was drawing out the important parts of their question so that I could provide the best answer possible. We all know interviewing is very stressful, but just take a deep breath and be yourself.
Excellent. I like the answer, because one of the things I was going to ask next from a cultural perspective was, can minorities, feel comfortable being themselves and working at NEXTera? Is it a comfortable environment?
Yes.
Go ahead, Michelle.
Will,
Yep.
This is Michelle. It's something that I feel passionately about, not only because I lead our employee engagement, diversity, and inclusion practice, but because, I'm a Black girl from Nebraska. I've always kind of been different than a lot of other people for most of my life. And I truly believe that authenticity is the key for every single one of us to be successful. So my rule is, if you don't feel comfortable being yourself in whatever room you're in, then go to a different one. Because the exhaustion that it takes to try to fit into some other mold and be some other version of yourself, no one has time for that. So I tell everyone this. I've got a number of mentees that I work with at all sorts of age. Please be yourself. Don't be afraid to let your personality shine through. That's part of what's going to separate you from everyone else. And I think that a lot, to Jennifer's point, being sure that you've already outlined what are those high points in your career that you really want to be able to sell. And then you've got to figure out which one of those questions that come to you where you can highlight it. Interviewing for a job is kind of like taking a test. And if you're prepared, you'll do better on the test. But never in that test do I want you to feel like you can't be your authentic self, because that's what you have to bring that no one else can.
Excellent. Excellent. So with us kind of being in a sort of a weird space with the COVID-19, I'm kind of curious. This is a question for Annie or Lewis, and actually for anyone else on the team that may have seen something internally at NEXTera that maybe where NEXTera had to step up as a company to resolve some of the challenges that have come up with COVID-19, or from a service delivery perspective with the plants. Have you guys had to do anything different operationally or from a service delivery perspective related to the coronavirus epidemic?
Yeah, so most definitely, as we're experiencing, we're on a virtual conference right now, every aspect of our business has had to make a little bit of an adjustment or a big adjustment depending on where we are. Here at the plants, I would say that from the leadership all the way down to the team, one thing has been, being very transparent with what the company is doing, what the importance of business continuity is. As you can imagine, being at a plant generation side of the house, you can't shut it down, right? It's one of those things that's ultra critical to what we're doing in the infrastructure of the city and the state. So, we've made different types of plans. We've had to, change the way we schedules. We've rotated people working remote, some working at the site, depending on if you can. For the actual people who run the site, the operations teams, we've changed the way they actually run, or in other words, where they sit, how they, making sure we follow all our social distancing, making sure that they are the most critical asset at this point in time, right? We need to make sure that we protect our teammates in this time of need. So we go from, at actual work, what we need to do, any concerns we have at home, we go on it from circumstance to circumstance to make sure that they are able to come to work and be able to be at ease to a certain extent, considering these historic kind of times we're going through right now. So it's different facets. We've kind of tackled it from different ways. We try to limit exposure as much as possible and try to limit as many people who can be on site as it is. And so far, let me tell you that every bit of the protocols that we've taken so far have actually worked out to be pretty successful as a company so far. So I'm pretty proud with the way we've tackled it up to this point, and every plan that we've talked about moving forward sounds good as well. So been a very considerate approach, I would say.
Excellent, excellent. So this next question is probably one for Shirley, but I would definitely open up the floor to anyone else that may have seen or may have an answer to this question. I would say the question is, what are some of the growth areas company-wide, physically from a location perspective, and then also from a functional perspective? Like what areas are you seeing a lot of growth or challenges as far as hiring's perspective? And then physically, I know NextEra is primarily in Florida, but I know there are also some other locations where there's some hiring going on.
I think that's, thank you, Will. So I think that's the mystery of NextEra. So if you do your history, you'll realize that, yes, we're in Florida, but we're in a lot of other states, and those numbers change. Over 30 some odd states that we have a presence in, from our wind farms and our solar and what have you. But I would say, I want to make sure that's very clear, because I know there are a lot of people on this call tonight. I think it's important to know that this is just I don't want to say crumbs, but this is a small portion of how big our company is. There are so many opportunities across the company. So I think it's important that the folks that are on the call do your homework, as we said earlier, because I was going to answer that question that came through a minute ago. Do your homework, see what opportunities we have. The majority of our positions, if they are available to the outside world, they are posted on our website. So we're growing leaps and bounds. We're hiring. We just had an open house not too long ago with our power delivery organization. That's our poles and wires. And we hired close to 40 associate engineers, made offers to close to 40 engineers. So engineers are growing across the business. We have project managers that are growing. So as I said, across the company, we're growing leaps and bounds. But all those positions, it's important that the folks on the phone, do your homework, have a passion and desire to know where you want to work, because we have a company also in Texas. So there are opportunities across. So you just need to do your research and know exactly where you want to work, and do your due diligence and apply accordingly.
Excellent. So I don't want to hog up all of the time with my panel questions. I want to definitely leave some time for you guys to answer some of the questions that have been coming in through the chat. So to all of the candidates that have questions so far for the NextEra team, feel free to drop those questions in the chat. And then I'll start to ask some of those questions, and we can try to rapid fire this as fast as we can to get as many of the questions as we can. But if we miss any, what I'll do is I'll save the chat, and then we'll do a follow-up email to everybody to answer some of the questions that came through. How about that? Sound good?
Sounds good.
Okay. So the first question I see here, very interesting question, but very relevant, from Mamadou Berry. And the question is regards to challenges that NextEra is facing as a company with regard to clean energy versus fossil generated energy. So have any of you all seen any of the challenges, related to the types of energy, and how is NextEra dealing with those challenges?
So I can try to answer that one, Will. I actually think one of the things that makes me feel most proud about working with the company is the fact that we've really been a leader in moving our portfolio in that direction. So, like you said, the question is posed as the challenge of clean energy versus fossil. Well, when I started with the company, our portfolio looked completely different from what we were right now, and we've changed everything towards that direction. We're now we've committed to 30 million solar panels by 2030 in the state of Florida. Where I believe somebody mentioned earlier, we're the leading industry in battery storage right now. So, the company's vision is one of the things that's very impressive from the senior leadership. And I've really seen us lead the way. And if we weren't the leader at the time, that's what the vision was. And now we're there. And it's very impressive. So right now, the clean energy aspect, I don't think is a challenge. It's more our mission and our goal. And I see us, leading the way right now. So it's actually pretty fun to be a part of that team.
Excellent. So the next question I see here It's from Jeffrey Asumda. So the question is, how has NextEra fared with the current pandemic? What are some of the challenges, and then what are some of the improvements that NextEra will implement to be better prepared to handle situations like this pandemic? And that.
So I'll take a start at that, and certainly invite my colleagues to share. One of the things from a technology perspective is that we've had to, almost on a dime, transition or extend our remote telecommuting capabilities to have our whole workforce move from working in the office, obviously, to now working at home. And I'll say almost overnight, we all switched to using WebEx technologies for our meetings and for our ongoing processes. So we have completely reimagined or expanded or extended our technical capability to work remotely so that we keep our employees safe. I mean, safety and employee safety is paramount at NextEra, and we have not stopped at using any resource we could to enable us to continue to run the business, but to run it safely.
Excellent. Great answer. So like I said, I'm going to try to rapid fire as many of these questions as possible. So I'm going to move on to the next one. Next one is from Martin. And this one I think is for Shirley or Michelle. And so the question is, are there any examples of success when it comes to the efforts or initiatives, diversity initiatives that NextEra has had? And I think that can be, from an internal perspective with the ERGs and the ERGs helping the company, become successful with regards to recruitment or mentorship or promotions internally. So if you guys can share any examples of success, or for anyone who's represented from the team that has, been promoted from, for example, as a result of some of the diversity initiatives within the company.
So I'll kick it off, and then I'll let any of my colleagues build that want to. What I would say is I was really impressed when I was interviewing, talking to the executives, really on the focus that they have around diversity. So we have a monthly review where all of our senior-most leaders go through diversity metrics for representation, hiring, promotion, and turnover. And we look at that for 3 key demographics: for African Americans, for minorities, and for women. And we go through that line by line. When someone leaves our organization, we talk through the exact reasons why, and we are sure that we try to mitigate any risk that we see popping up overall. We do a lot of cool things for people that are just starting in the organization on helping them to get acclimated, having coffee chats and breakfast. We have a batch of summer interns every year, around 200 summer interns. And our Executive Vice President of Corporate Development, Mark Hickson, who's the most senior African American, hosts a lunch with those interns every single year, advising them on kind of ways to be successful in navigating their career in corporate America. And I always just think of that as a really great example. And then we work really closely with a lot of community organizations that focus on African Americans, whether that's building STEM education so that we're working on that future pipeline, or just kind of helping out deeper, through the Urban League, helping people get jobs, helping them secure housing. So just really engaged and focusing on the needs of African Americans in our area. But Shirley or Andrea, do you have anything you'd like to add?
I would also add that we've done a lot of things with, the National Black MBA, where we've had events where we focused. Our focus clearly has been on trying to make a difference with hires. So we're very strategic with it. Of course, sometimes it works out, sometimes it does not. But those folks that we bring in, they're successful. We try to follow them, and as Michelle said, have those coffee chats and try to encourage them. I think it's important for people to understand, and folks on the call to understand that, things don't always happen overnight. I think some people get discouraged. They want to be the CEO or somebody like tomorrow. It doesn't happen overnight. You've got to put in the work. And once you put in the work, you're rewarded accordingly. But I want to say this, Will, that I think tonight is a success because doing this for the first time and having this many folks on the line at almost 7:30 at night, wanting to hear about our company and being a diverse population of group of folks, I think this is exciting, and we look forward to this connection.
So one other,
And just one really quick addition, Will, sorry.
no
I
problem.
want to be sure that you guys know that I joined about 2 years ago as the Director of Engagement, Diversity, and Inclusion, and I was promoted after about 1.5 years. So when you do a good job, it is noticed, and those promotion opportunities are there. So I'm an example of someone who was promoted in my less than 3 years with the company.
And before we end this evening, I'm going to let Shirley talk about the process, because this was a special effort to invite people in to learn more about NEXTera, but then we also collected resumes from everybody that was interested, and we're going to be delivering those resumes to NEXTera, and so that those resumes can be reviewed and people can be invited in for interviews, or maybe it's virtual, but with the intent is to hire people and to, you know, interview some candidates to get jobs. So, and I'll let Shirley speak to that at the end. But I'm going to try to, like I said, get as many questions in here before our 9 minutes are up. So I kind of think I know the answer to this question. This one's for Shirley from Brandon. What areas within the company do you believe could benefit most from increased diversity? And what areas would you encourage minorities to explore? I think I know the answer to that question, but I'll let you.
I would say any job, you know, at the end of the day, I mean, you need to find what match your background with the job description. We're looking to increase our efforts across the board. So the sky's the limit, just go for it, but be sure to follow the, you know, apply online, and number one, read the job description. I think that's really key. We try our best working with our recruiters to ensure that those job descriptions are clear and concise. What you see is what they are. So, you know, you want to make sure that you apply for those jobs that you're really, truly interested in. And also interested in the location. I think that's important too, as you're looking for opportunities.
I sure wouldn't have a problem with Florida right about now.
Come on.
But hey, okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and move to the next question, which is from Monique. So we're getting a lot of interesting questions around company culture, which I think is important to people. And so this question is, what community service outreach initiatives and programs do NEXTera employees participate in? And also, does the company encourage employees to create service opportunities, or does the company have specific service events? Great question.
And guys, I'll just give you some stats. I happen to be looking at this for something different earlier. We are really, really committed to the communities that we serve and the folks that are our customers. So our giving strategy is around STEM education, environmental sustainability, and ensuring good quality of life for folks. That includes, during this pandemic, not suspending anyone's service because lack of payment for people who've lost jobs. I've got our 2018 stats on volunteerism. In 2018, our employees volunteered 85,000 hours and donated almost $5 million.
Excellent.
And our leaders served on 200+ nonprofit boards. So community service is really, really important to how we run our business. We think our communities and our customers are the reason why we're successful, and we would encourage every single employee to get involved.
Excellent. All right, so next question is from Daryl Miller. So this question is, given the long tenure of employees at NEXTera that are represented, what advancement opportunities or career development opportunities exist within the company? And this was actually going to be one of my questions too, around mentoring. If someone comes into the company and they're ambitious, they're a hard worker, and they want to climb that corporate ladder, what kind of structure is in place to help them do that?
I can kind of talk to my experience if you'd like. So when I started with the company back in 2012, I started as a staff accountant, and very ambitious, very passionate, always looking for ways to improve. And I made my way through every single position in the accounting organization. I was promoted to a senior accountant, then a principal accountant, and then finally to a manager. And so, like I mentioned earlier, if you are dedicated, there's a place for you. We love talented people, and as long as you bring that forward, a spot may even be created for you. It's all about your passion, your dedication to the company, and that will create your success. And I've learned a long time ago that when it's time for you to get promoted, you don't have to ask for it. It will come to you. You don't have to make that request. And so I just encourage everyone on the phone to just be very diligent, be very hardworking, be very passionate. It's important, like all of my colleagues have mentioned tonight, find what matters to you and you will excel beyond your dreams.
Excellent. We got that on. I was going to say we have that recorded. That we have to use that for a commercial.
Absolutely.
I'm sorry.
If I could add to that, the one thing I would say is that you're continually being interviewed in your day-to-day work. So always put your best foot forward, because that's where the promotions come. At the times when you think that no one is watching, that's when you're being watched, and that's when people are observing all of those great tendencies that you bring to the job.
Excellent point. Next question is from Emmanuel Buka. Emmanuel is an electrical engineer, and his question is, at NEXTera Energy, do engineers typically work as individual contributors, or are they working on large teams? So I guess that question will be for Annie or Lewis.
Yep. Yeah, I can answer that. So I guess it would be a mix of both, really. You know, we have, of course, large teams where you could be an individual contributor, whether that's within a central organization on one of our many support teams. We have an electrical fleet team that handles all of the reliability and support for all of our huge generators and motors and things like that. And at the plants, like Lewis spoke about, you know, he has an electrical engineer that they're in more of a supervisory role. But really, when you get to the point, usually entry level, you are an individual contributor, whether you're on a larger team or a smaller team. But then at some point, you choose the path. Do you want to go into the technical route, which would lead you into more of like the principal or a staff level engineer? Or if you want to take the leadership route and become a manager, a director, things like that. So at some point in your career, if you are looking to further it and for, you know, further opportunities, you kind of have to pick if you want to stay more of that individual contributor and stay the technical route. There's still a great route that way. Or if you want to become a leader and lead your own team, then there's development to help you grow in that area.
Excellent. So we're getting some questions. So questions related to specific jobs and where those job opportunities are located. What I'm going to do after the event this evening is I'm going to email all of the candidates, so all of you guys. I'm going to email you a link where you can go to NEXTera, their career site, and you can search all of the jobs and all of the locations for those jobs. And we'll use a link where you'll be tracked back to HBCU Connect. So while we have some momentum with this effort to, you know, expose you guys, our candidates to NEXTera, we'll be able to track you for when you apply for jobs. So, so that's to answer those questions related to specific jobs and where they're located. I will follow up with everyone on that. So let me find the next question here. So we really only have a couple of minutes left, but we really got a lot of good questions. So we're definitely going to have to save all of the questions from the chat. Then what we'll do is organize those questions and share with the NEXTera team. And hopefully you guys can kind of get back with us, and then we could share some answers maybe in an email format with the candidates, because I don't want to leave anyone hanging. Because like I said, there's a lot of good questions in here, but we only have a couple minutes left. And so with respect for time, I want to go ahead and move to next steps and give Shirley a chance to speak to the process for, you know, the candidates that we're going to send over in their resumes, as well as, you know, for folks that can follow up on the website and apply for opportunities. Shirley, the floor is yours.
All right. Well, first of all, again, Will, thank you very much for this opportunity to partner with you for this event, along with all of the participants who are on the call. So it's important, as Will stated, to ensure that you follow the link that will be provided to you to apply for any opportunities any and all opportunities that you're interested in. Our ultimate goal as a recruiting team would be to review those resumes that are coming through the pipeline and see the best. Of course, we want to make sure, number one, that you are a good fit for the opportunity, and then assess it accordingly. Our goal is not to leave anyone hanging, so we will make sure that we review all resumes and give some type of response. I'm not sure how many are on the call tonight because I can't see it on my end, but we will ensure that you get some type. How many?
There were 160. Right now we got 153.
Wow. All right. See,
we probably got about 300 resumes.
Okay. So with that being said, we will get through. So give us some time. But what's important I said it earlier, and I'm going to say it again. Go use the link. Apply for those opportunities that you would be interested in, and our recruiting team back at the home front will ensure that we get you through the process. And then the next steps, of course, with COVID-19 right now, we're doing a lot of phone screening, so there's a possibility you will get a phone call from one of our recruiters. So I would say give us about 2 to 3 weeks, because I want to keep this momentum going while it's here and you're interested. But we'll get through those resumes and make sure that we respond back accordingly. And then we'll move to next steps. I also want to say that this did not happen just by myself. I want to thank the recruiters and the leaders that are on the call from our recruiting team. I know they're out there somewhere. So, hey guys, thank you so much for your support. And some of them might not be on the line, but this did not happen with just me and my team also. And then I also want to thank the NEXTera leadership here for gathering for tonight. And it's our ultimate goal to hire guys. We're not doing this just because we have nothing to do with our time. Our ultimate goal is to get the right candidates to the right jobs and be able to make some hires out of this. So thank you for your time, and we'll be sure to share all that information with the candidates on the line and follow up with any questions that you guys might have, and we'll be sure to respond back to them.
Excellent. So thank you, Shirley. Thank you to the NEXTera team. We really appreciate you guys taking the time out after hours to share your experiences, to share your opportunities, and to open the door to a lot of our candidates that are very interested in your opportunities. So thanks again. Did anyone else other than Shirley have anything else they wanted to add before we close out our event? If not,
Thank you for the opportunity.
absolutely, thank you. So if not, like I said, everyone, all of the candidates that are attending, if you haven't already submitted your resume to us, the link is on the screen. It's hbcuconnect.com/nextera. That'll take you to a form where you can submit your contact information and your resume. We will receive that. We'll send all the resumes over to Shirley and her team of recruiters, and then they will be trying to align candidates based on your skill set with available opportunities. But I'm going to also ask you to proactively search the NEXTera website. So I'll send you all a specific link where you can go off to their website, check out the available opportunities and locations. And then also you'll be coming from HBCU Connect, so hopefully we'll be able to track that and then pipeline you through the process for the available opportunities. So thank you guys for taking the time to learn more about NEXTera. If it wasn't for you all attending this event, we wouldn't be able to do events like this because the companies that we work with would not think people were interested. So the fact that you guys took the time out to join this call is very important for us to continue to do this kind of thing. So thanks again to everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks. All right.
Thank you so much, everyone, for joining.
Have a
Thank
great
you. Have a great evening.
Great evening.
Good night.
Night.
Bye, guys.